Hi everybody, it's Master Sky here. Welcome to this version of a recorded Nunchuck class. What we're going to be doing is we're not going to be having live classes this Saturday for our weapons classes. I want to make sure that I have enough time to give the staff a rest, let them get some sleep, let them get some catch up in their own personal things. We've been extremely busy. I can't tell you just how busy we are, but trust me, we are. So we're not going to have any actual live training classes. So what I'm going to do is a quick 5-minute video here and give you guys some tips from me regarding the various weapons. I'm going to start with the Nunchucks here, mainly because it's my absolute favorite, let alone we're actually going to be doing it for the first quarter graduation coming up here on March 27th, okay? So a couple of things I want to do. I'm only going to make this short, so it's not going to be about your actual kata that you're doing or that you've been working on, but just some tips and tricks in order to help you become better at manipulating the weapons. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the hand position that you're holding them. Now when you're holding these Nunchucks, it's really important to hold it up near the rope. Back in my day when I was competing in the 80s and 90s, it was actually frowned upon because in tradition, they would hold it mid-level or even at the end of the actual weapon. But I've always kept them up here primarily because there's a huge level of manipulation control that you can gain by making sure that you hold them up. So the first thing is to always check yourself and make sure. A lot of times you may start up here and then you find out that it kind of comes a little farther down as you're manipulating it. But there's ways to be able to kind of slide those up, or if you're doing a pass in order to readjust and make sure that you're getting it in the position that you want. So with that said, number one is make sure that you're checking yourself when you're practicing your katas at home, that you have those hands close to that chain or close to that rope, depending on the weapon that you have. The second thing is wherever the hand points. So if you have your hand up here, wherever that particular hand points is where the weapon is going to go. That's really key. So when you're doing something like triangle strikes and you're just working on that base level of it, remember, wherever this hand is going to point, if I want the weapon to go there, I'm going to point it right to that point. It's also the same thing on the side and the up. You can apply that to a figure eight, so I draw the imaginary figure eights, and that's how I'm able to increase that speed as I make that 8 go smaller and smaller. Where this really applies is on the good old got myself whacked in the head on the Nunchuck practicing. Specifically, the halo strikes is a very common one to do it with, okay? But here's what I want you to remember. If you make a halo, and you make that halo with pointing this where you want it to go, it's impossible for that to hit your head. Now, let's show you what I mean by that. If I'm just pointing in the direction, and I'm not actually doing a halo with my hand, if I just point it to go there, boom, there it is. It's going to whack you, right? So if you take this and you point it in a halo direction and make sure it goes all the way around your head and your head does the halo, if you can see in this direction, no matter what I try, as long as I continue that around, if you can see that, there's no way that that could possibly hit my head. It has to go around. Now, if I shorten it up, which some people try to do for speed, and I try to do a quick one, well, now I'm asking for trouble because I can just whack that just a little bit too short. So make sure that that hand is pointing and going all the way around your head when you're doing that halo, and then no matter what you do, you're going to be able to have a clean strike and a clean movement without having to worry about hit your head, okay? So when you're practicing and you're doing halo strikes, put some time in, whether it's doing single or double, just so put some time in to make sure, even if you do it one at a time, make sure that you're getting that hand to go all the way around. Just make a little circle around your head, and that Nunchuck cannot hit that head. And then if you want to practice the other side, certainly practice the other side. Remember, slow is smooth, smooth is, that's correct, smooth is fast. So slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Really work on getting that around. And then obviously a lot of you have been working that. It's a little more challenging because again, you have to make sure that that hand goes all the way around that head and points in the direction that you want to see it go. okay? All right, next tip, cutting down on the triangle. This is probably one of the biggest skills that helped me increase the speed of most of my moves. So when you think about it, when we're working on the basic point and we start up here, we're bringing our hand all the way to that side, we're bringing it all the way to this side, and then we're bringing it back up to the shoulder. So as you do that, you're not only creating movement in the nunchuck, but you're also creating movement in your hand and, more importantly, your arm. So as you can see, my hand is going to all 3 points, and at beginner level, that's very, very important to do. And make sure that you're getting clean lines, you're not coming too high or you're not coming too low with them. You're coming directly across that body, striking that neck area or that collarbone, which is what this strike is designed to do, okay? Now, what you want to do in order to increase speed, that as you start moving this nunchuck, is to cut down the amount of distance that that hand is traveling. So instead of coming all the way up, all the way to the side, and all the way back, I'm cutting it down. Now look at it. I'm touching here, I'm pointing it to that hip, but I haven't brought it all the way over. Same thing here. If I start here and I just do this, it touches, but look at how close I am, or how much to the center I am. And if I just flip my hand over here, I get the other side too. So watch from a long, drawn out, correct beginner level. As you want to increase, you just start cutting that angle down, and if you see, I'm not bringing it all the way over, which then helps me increase speed that I'm throwing those nunchucks at, okay? So cutting down that angle. I do not suggest that you do that for around the head. It's possible to do, but I don't suggest that for the reasons I stated before. It is very, very, very tricky to not whack yourself in the head. So no matter what you're doing, even if you're doing up and downs, I don't know if I can get close enough here so you can see that, but as I start to do that, I'm not bringing it all the way up. I'm leaving just a little bit of a distance, so when it touches, it's already at that position, okay? So cutting down that angle, cutting down that movement will help increase speed. I do not recommend that you do that until after you have really nice, clean lines and clean forms, okay? Next, holding what we call weak hand, or the hand that's not manipulating the weapon. What do we do with that? Not saying holding, I apologize for that, but what do we do with that hand? Well, in most cases, you're not going to retract it when you're doing the techniques. Sensei Mike and Sensei Chris, I'm sure, have mentioned that we put the hand on the hip. Now, there's a couple of positions. You can just lay that on the hip. I've seen people leave it in guard. You can do that too. But I suggest keeping it on the hip and keeping it nice and flat. So as you're doing your techniques, you have a nice, clean line to that belt line that you can then throw that weapon out and throw that strike. If you have the hand lazy, I've seen students whack that hand as they come up. So hand nice and flat, like it's on a table, sideways, really helps with you trying to get a nice clean line. If you're doing a technique where it's not involving the weapons, let's say just the basic kick, the same principles apply. If I have one chuck in my hand or even two chucks and I'm ready to throw that kick, you want to make sure that you have those hands in the position. When you see a jump kick, I've been seeing a lot of students doing that jump kick and really trying to bring those hands down. That's fine, but it's better if you can come in, do your plant, use those elbows and the swinging with the bend, and then bringing it up. It kind of takes away some of that sloppiness and unnecessary movement, okay, that wasted motion. All right, so hand positions when you're throwing those techniques, whether you have a weapon. If you have a double weapon, the same thing would apply. You would just keep it flat instead of the hand being flat, okay? So one more thing, if you have that, just make sure that you keep that position. If not, you can keep it in a guard depending on what section you're working in that particular position, okay? One other thing that I want to mention is body posture. I see a lot of kids when they're doing their movements and students, they have that body down because you're really trying to whip it up. You want to make sure you keep that body upright, shoulders back, especially when you're doing it. Try not to roll those shoulders. keep those shoulders back, and most importantly, keep that head up and focused, okay? So also, when you have the head position, when you're doing a halo, don't make your head go around the nunchuck. So I see a lot because they're afraid of that. Remember what I said earlier, wherever this points, the nunchuck on the other side is gonna go. So as long as you have that hand going all the way around, I could stand as tall as I want. Again, I'm still never gonna get hit with that other side as long as I'm using that formula and that idea that I gave you earlier. So try not to bring that head around, stand tall, make sure that hand goes all the way around, and you'll see instant results. Your posture will improve as you're doing your nunchucks, and it'll look way, way, way better, okay? Here's one other challenge that I have for you. I want you to take one section of your kata. I don't care what it is, take one section of your kata. What I want you to do is work on those techniques. I want you to start slow, medium, fast, warm up with it on your own after you read these tips and watch these tips on the video. And then what I want you to do is I want you to challenge yourself. Take a section. I want you to get a timer. I do this all the time with my students in their privates to help increase speed with their weapons or their techniques. And let's just say that you're doing a section of the kata that just happens to involve this. Okay? Time yourself. Say, okay, I'm going to do 10 or 20. Let's just say 10. So I start time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then from there, get someone to stop that time. And then mark that time down. Record that time in your notebook. Everyone should have a Sky Center's notebook. If not, your own spiral notebook or papers that you keep all your notes from classes in. Okay? So record that. Make a little chart. Record it. Okay, my first time, I did triangle strikes. I did 10, quantity 10. My time was 8 seconds. And then your goal is to do 3 or 4 of those and try to beat that score. It's better to do techniques than just a section of the kata, because then you tend to mess up that kata and just try to go out fast to get it done. I suggest doing your techniques. You got halos, you got body whips, you have triangle strikes, you have figures eights, reverse figure eights. There's a bunch of things and variations you can do. You get to choose what you do. But try to time it, and then try to do it 5 times and try to beat that time every single time. And from there, you can see exactly how well you did, and you can chart your progress from day to day, week to week, or every time that you do it. I hope this helps. I hope you enjoy the nunchucks, and we will be talking to you soon.